What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So take a look at what happened here in Alaska, but by some suspected Chinese spies disguised as tourists tried to infiltrate Alaskan military bases. Take a listen to this. And this has happened more than once. Chinese citizens posing as tourists but suspected of being spies have made several attempts in recent years to gain access to military facilities in this vast state studded with sensitive bases, according to U.S. officials. In one incident, a vehicle with Chinese citizens blew past a security checkpoint at Fort Wainwright in Fairbanks. Several soldiers told USA Today. This vehicle was eventually stopped, and a search found a drone inside the vehicle. The occupants claimed they were tourists who had gotten lost. Many of the encounters have been chalked up to innocent mistakes by foreign visitors intent on viewing the northern lights and other attractions in Alaska. Other attempts to enter U.S. military bases, however, seem to be probes to learn about U.S. military capabilities in Alaska. According to multiple soldiers familiar with the incidents, but who were not authorized to speak publicly about them. Not all who appear to be tourists in Alaska are, in fact, tourists, one Army officer said. Instead, they are foreign spies. Details about the incidences remain mostly classified. However, military briefings and publicly available information lay out why the Chinese government would be interested in Alaska, which is right next to Russia, where some of Pentagon's most sophisticated military capabilities and high-end war games reside. The Pentagon's #2 official, Kathleen Hicks, demurred when asked to comment on suspected Chinese spying at military facilities in Alaska. She said the military has taken a number of steps to make sure those bases are secure, but gave no specifics. Yeah, now imagine if this had happened in Russia or China, where they have literally jailed journalists, like the guy from the Wall Street Journal, or the basketball player Brittany Griner, two-time Olympic gold medalist, for far, far less. And they potentially could stay in prison. We've had multiple different incidences here, like Paul Whelan being in prison for years and will possibly stay in there until a prisoner exchange. So look at the differences here. And of course, I can't lay out every different single scenario here, but yeah, imagine if these type of incidences had happened in China or Russia, what they would do. Please let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Maybe America should be a little bit more tough on these type of scenarios. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said there will be no Ukraine ceasefire without a peace deal that includes a complete Russia withdrawal. This is basically echoing what Ukraine has been saying forever, in that Ukraine does not want to give up their land to the invader, and they're not going to give up their land to Russia. This also comes here as Russia is on course for a conflict with NATO, and thereby the United States. Commander says, a full-blown NATO war with Russia is the West's worst-case scenario, but is possible, according to the commander of the Czech Republic's armed forces, as the gulf between the Western world and Moscow grows wider amid the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. General Karel Reka, the chief of the General Staff of the Czech's armed forces, and yes, the Czech Republic is in NATO, and was added to NATO in 1999, along with Hungary and Poland from 1999, as you can see here, expanded after the Cold War. Um, yeah, so along with all these other countries in their respective years. They said here that NATO militaries must undertake the essential task of preparing for direct conflict with Moscow, according to Czech news services. Quote, we view war between Russia and the North Atlantic Alliance, NATO, as the worst case scenario, but it is not impossible. It is possible. It is currently on course towards a conflict with the alliance, NATO. Meanwhile, Russia getting a small taste of their own medicine as a pro Kremlin TV host warns Russia and Russian viewers to get used to attacks inside Russia, as Russia has been getting hit by some drones here somewhat frequently here recently. And Russia's calling these, few drone attacks that they have had happen in Moscow and some other recent areas, which haven't amounted to much, honestly. Um, Russia calls them terror attacks. Well, if Russia calls those terror attacks, what does Russia call the attacks that have hit Ukraine that literally has been like 100,000 times more in Ukraine? What does Russia call those? Bombing of hospitals, and, schools and people's apartment buildings. So there's been a few in Moscow. There's been 100,000 times more in Ukraine. What does Russia call those? Yeah, and this also comes as Russian rebel groups crossed over from Ukraine into Russia and attacked one of Russia's own cities here. And this is kind of a little bit of a rebellion against Russia themselves and Putin themselves. So we're seeing a little bit of change in the tide here. You can a small change here. Don't get me wrong here, but the change here is that it's now being a little bit of Russia feeling its own war, because before this, Russia had nothing happening inside Russia. And now Russia is and the Russian people are actually having the war brought inside Russia a little bit. So now it's no longer, oh, it's what's happening in Ukraine. Now the Russian people are actually seeing it happen there a little bit. Because remember, what happens inside Russia and what they hear is very, very controlled by Russian media. Okay, it's almost like what happened in World War II with Germany. They're only hearing what the media tells them. They're not allowed to access outside internet. It's very, very controlled. We go back to those stories where the um, the Russian father called his son in Ukraine, and the Russian father couldn't believe what the Ukraine son was telling him. It's almost like they lived on two different planets. Okay, so now that the war is coming to Russia and the Russian people are actually seeing it happen a little bit there, it's almost eye-opening to these people that they don't even know what's happening. It's unbelievable to them. So it's almost startling to them that there's actually a war going on for some people inside Russia. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country and around the world on a daily basis. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. It's, of course, completely free to do so. And thank you so much for liking and share these videos with anybody that needs to hear this. It also helps our videos get out to more people and helps our channel grow here a little bit. Thank you so much. And here's some videos you should watch next. Here's a video about the Bible being banned. You won't believe it. And Walmart going under massive changes that's going to affect millions of Americans. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.